Good morning once more. So in our previous class, we talked about authentication, and we started authenticating our Epic Notes app, where we created a Prisma service. We also created a Prisma module. We seeded our database as well. We continued from there to create the authentication system, created the user details, implemented the user service and user module. We also created, also implemented actual authentication by creating authentication details, created the guard, service, and controller. So today we will first of all go through what we've done, make some minor changes, and continue from where we stopped. So here is our decorators directory, where we have the current user ID. So let's look at our user service. So let's close everything. Especially this, close this. So first of all, we're going to be starting with, let me zoom in again. Yeah. Let's start with the app module. Let's delete the app controller spec tiers. Let's do some cleanup. In our main tiers, it's fine here. The app module here is also fine. Let's look at the users module. First of all, look at the user service. We have our config. We have our create user method, where we are creating a new user. We first of all check if the user exists. And if the user doesn't exist, we hash the password and create a new user in our database. Then we return the created user. This one is to find the user by email. So first of all, find a unique user using their email. If they exist, we return the unique user. If they don't, we return null. We don't have that user in our database. So we have another method here, get user password. So this one, we'll first of all check for the unique user using the user ID. Select your password. That is the hash of the password. We'll return the user. So we have another method, find by ID, or finding unique user by ID. If the user doesn't exist, we throw no a not found exception. We also have a validate user method here, where we are trying to compare their password. Okay, validate user, we're trying to compare their password. So we check if there's a user, and then we compare their password hash. And if the password hash matches, if we compare their password with the hash and it matches, we return the rest of the user without the password. Else return null. Okay, so let's look at the users module. We have the Prisma module, which we're importing to use in the user service. We also have the user service, and we're exporting the user service as well. So now we have user service spec TS. Let's delete this for now. I guess we don't need that. We're not testing for now, so let's just do some cleanup. Okay, we have the user module, user service grid. Now let's look at our auth module here. Let's do away with this one as well. So we have the auth service, nothing in there. We have the auth module where we're importing the auth service. Yeah. So we have our guards, we have DTO, decorators. Great. So right now, um, now that we have our guards and our decorators, the next thing to do is to implement our auth service. So with our auth service, we need a couple of things. So we also import, we ought to import those when we need them. So, but for now, let's import user service from source user service TS. Thank you, Copilot. So we inject that here. We also need login DTO. So import login DTO. We also need the register DTO. And we need the user response DTO. So now that we have this in place, we've injected the user service. So the next thing now is to register a user. The next thing now is to register a user first. So we add a method here. So async, don't call this one register. So we have register DTO, and the response will be promise, which will resolve to user response DTO. Great, thank you, Copilot. So now we're having an error here because we must return a promise that resolves to user response DTO. So first of all, this is an asynchronous operation. So try catch. So let's first of all take care of the error. So we say if error of code is exactly equal to P2002, this is there's an existing user. So we say throw new pad request exception. You see user with this email already exists like this. Yeah. Great. TypeScript is happening. Error dot code. Okay, so now we have this code auto completed. Oh, see, okay, I think that's great. So we've taken care of the error. If error is an instance of Prisma client now request error, and if the error code is P2002, so if the error code is P2002, then this shows there's an existing record with that unique constraint we are trying to create. So if you come over here, you say, okay, return await this user service create user register DTO. Okay, so what is this all about? Okay, the create user is returning the yes. So what's okay? So this bad request exception is no, that shouldn't be the case. I think this should be new internet server error exception. An error occurred while registering the user. Yeah. Okay, so now TypeScript is happy. So now we have our register method. The next method we want to implement is the login method. So async login, which will take the parameter of login DTO and will resolve to user response DTO. Okay, so now um, this is also an asynchronous operation. So we have our try catch block, and so in the catch block, we simply, if an error occurs, we just throw internet server exception error. Okay, so if there's an error, we just throw this error. But if there's no error, we just log the user in. We say, okay, const user is equal to wait, this user service. This user service validate user. Okay. Validate user expect two arguments, but we're providing one. There is the email and password. So the login detail here. Um, let's check it out real quick. Login detail, which is coming from TO login. So email, password. So okay. Great. So it now takes in a single parameter, which requires a single argument. You come over here. Good. So now TypeScript is happy. So we first of all validate the user. Let's compare their password. And if um, the password is invalid, throw a new bad request exception, invalid email or password. We just say invalid credentials like this. Good. So this is our auth service. We have the register and the login method. Good. So now we also need our auth controller who can be able to register, authenticate users, start register and log in users. So what you can do is to come over here and create auth controller. So next G controller, say auth. Okay, so we have our auth controller. Let's delete the spec TS file. We have our auth controller here. Controller auth. This one. Okay. So we need a couple of things. We auto import those when we need them. But let's import this one. So we have import auth service. Thank you, Copilot. We need the auth service for the authentication. We need the login DTO, the register DTO, because we'll be bringing in the auth service, which also requires login and register DTO. And we also need the user response DTO. And in here, we're actually authenticating users. So we need the session auth guard and the current user ID. So import login DTO. We import register DTO. We will also import user response detail, and then we import the session guard. Session guard. We import current user ID. Import current user ID from decorators. This current user or decorator. Great. So now that we have the basic things that we need imported, remember we're also documenting our API. So first of all, we need the API tags. So we see at API tags. So this one is authentication, like this. So in this class, first of all, we inject the user service constructor. Constructor shouldn't be outside of the class. Copilot is just messing around. Constructor, yeah, we inject the user service. And the next method we need is the register method, which we also have in the auth service. But before that, we're documenting our API, so we need a couple of things. At API, need an API operation decorator here. That's API operation. So let's see what API operation. And we have summary, register a new user. So then the next one is at API response, which status is 201. The type, that is the response. The type response is user response detail. And we can even add a message here, a description, because we'll be using this. So they will know the response they need. So user successfully registered. We'll need to import this as well from Nest.js Swagger. Let's import the body decorator. Okay. We also need another thing here. If in case of an error, what will the API return, or what will be the response? So here it will throw API bad request response. So what will the response be? Description will be user with this email already exists, like this. Great. So now that we have that in place, now here we have, this is a post request, so post, and this is, we post to the register route. Now we need to import this decorator from Nest.js common. So the method here is register. This requires a body, the register DTO body. And also we're adding to a session. So it also needs a session. Okay, so at session now, it's not something that is actually required, but let's see how we can go over it. So we have body register DTO. We add a comma here and we say at session decorator, which is coming from Nest.js common. And this, we'll say this is a session. but the session will be of a record string. The key will be of type string, and the value will be of type any, because we really don't know the type. We can make it unknown. Let's leave it. Let's make TypeScript happy for this line. Okay, so now that we have these in place, say const user, we need to register the user. See here, const user is equal to await. So this put service register user. That's it. It will take the argument of register DTO. Okay, but before we register the user, before we return the user, we need to do a couple of things. One of which is to set well, authenticating the user. So we need to set their credentials. We need to add them to the session so that in their subsequent requests, they're already authenticated. So they'll be allowed to perform their operations. So we have our session here. That's why we're bringing in the session at session here. So the session user ID is equal to user ID. And session user is equal to user. Store user ID in session, store user object in session. That's what. Okay, thank you, Copilot. Then finally, we return the user. So that is the reason for this and decorators, and also where is the guard and all these ones. But for now, we are saying does not exist on type session in partial session later. So we'll take care of that soon. So let's continue. So we have our auth service, auth controller. So we've successfully registered a user. Okay, so now that we've successfully registered the user, it's time to get user profile. So in order to get a user profile, we need to use their user ID or email to get their profile. But in this case, the user ID is more specific. So we use the user ID to grab their profile. So we need to also document this one. We'll have the login method there. Let's eliminate this. First of all, we need the operation will be to get a current user profile. So we need at API operation, and the summary here is get current user profile like this. And the API response will be 200. A 200 response. Okay, Copilot, let's just accept this. The 200 response, and the description will be, let's say description. Current user profile and the comma here. What if there's an error? What will be the response? So we throw it, we return this response, API unauthorized response with a description of unauthorized. So this is where the user guard comes in. Session auth guard, come over here at user guard, session auth guard. And this one here is This is a get request, so we say at get, and then we say profile because we're getting the user profile. If we want to get, we can make this me. I love to call it me. So if you go to uh, /hot/me, you grab your details. Okay, so now the method here is get profile, and we need current user ID. Current user ID decorator, which is the user ID. So current user ID, which is a string. So we use that to get the user profile. So we say get user profile, user ID. But this is not happening. Okay, so let's look at our auth service. Okay, so we don't have a get user profile method in our auth service. So we say async get user profile. It takes the user ID and get user by ID from the user service. Okay, so what's happening with the await expression? Return await. Okay, so what's the problem again? On safe call of an error type value. Okay, on safe call. So let's say try this. Okay, okay. So this strict mode of Nest.js is beginning to annoy me right now because I don't know what's. Let's look at our user service first. Find user by ID. Okay, so let's even optimize this query. Let's find user by ID. Let's come back to our auth service. Find user by ID. Why isn't it find the service? Find by find by ID, not find user like this. Okay, so TypeScript is now happy. And I think we should just do away with this because that method did not exist. The reason why TypeScript was annoyed. So now user response detail. Great. So now let's go back to our auth controller, and now we have no errors. It's also login detail. We're here to use that. So now we've authenticated our user, and before they can come over here, session, let's see. So this error here is the return type is session because we're in strict mode. Okay. Okay, so we're in strict mode and okay, so let's continue. So we have our register method, and we also have our guest profile method. So now what we need is the login method, login user. Should we say login user? Yeah. So see, we need the API response, and the API response is thank you, Copilot. The status 200, and this is not current user profile. This one is what is this? Oops, Copilot login user. So when user successfully logged in, let's type user response detail. We have API bad request response, which is invalid credentials, correct? So we post to the login route, then async login, the body session. This great. So we make TypeScript happy here as well. Response consider is equal to await this or to auth service login detail. And then when they are logged in, we add their credentials to the session object. So their subsequent requests, they're already authenticated. So there will be no issues. So we'll solve that later, not now, because see. Great. So now we have our login method, but we still need one more method, which is log out. So if we come over, let's see, at API operation, summary is log out user, and we post to the logout route. Great. Now the API response. 200, and the description is user successfully logged out. We'll post to the logout route, and the HTTP code is, we can also include HTTP code, since actually there's no you can use the session guard. Let's make TypeScript happy here as well. Now the logout has no await expression, so let us eliminate the async so that TypeScript will be happy, and simply void and not a promise that resolves to void. So we set the user ID on the session to be null. We set the user object on the session also null. But instead of doing this, we can see session destroy. Okay, but then we'll come back to this. Let's just set it to null first because something is wrong somewhere. Okay, at session, let's set it to null, and we can return. Let's just return a message. We see it successfully logged out. But here we specify this is no void, an object with message or string to make TypeScript happy. Great. So now we have our login method, our register method, login method, get user profile, and log out. So we can come over here add some comments, register a new user. Let's Copilot to the work for us. So we can be able to easily identify our method. User and user, the registration data, the session object, the registered user, which returns the registered user. So we also have another one here, which is, let's actually move this one to be after the login. Like this. So let's add a quick TS doc here. So Copilot to help us out with that. We just need to identify our method. Let's add another one. Okay. Great. And over here, another one. Logout user. Great. So now we can easily identify our methods with this comment. So we don't need to go looking now. Great. Okay, so now we need to create our auth module and make this all work. Okay, we already have our auth module, but our auth module, we say imports. Like this. Because we are using the user service in the auth service and controller, it needs the users module, providers, auth service, and it also needs the auth controller. Auth controller, okay, it's already here. Okay, so we need to also export auth service like this. Great. So now we have authentication is now ready. So we've been doing all of this without even testing anything. So first of all, let's run np and run start dev. Okay, it's an error here. Was not found with touch Prisma service implicit and Prisma service. Let's comment this out first. Save. Let's see. Okay. User ID does not exist on user. Okay. Okay, let's see how we can fix this error. Let's move to Nest.js and move to the documentation. So we have okay. So where can I find the API reference? No, not this. Techniques. Yeah, so we have the techniques here. We have session. So going over this, we have request. This is equal to here. Okay. This is session express session. So find all. If request your session then visit is equal to visit all. add it by one to that one. Oh, wow. Then use the session decorator to extract the session object from the request. Let's show session. So now we have the visits. Here they're saying the request decorator is imported from the Nest.js common while request from the Express. Okay. So let's verify this. The request decorator, this rec is imported from the Next.js common, while the request from the Express package. So let's verify we are doing the correct thing. Requests. Let's check this out. Requests from Express. So in the auth service, we have the rec controller. Body. Session is of record stream and or can go over, and here we say session, and it's not auto completed. So we have the session decorator. It's not auto completed. Let's take a look at the current user detail again. Request, this is get request. CTF identification context, request session, user ID. Request session, we have a cookie, the destroy, engineer, reload, reset, save, touch. Okay. So now let's look at the API. Come on here, we have the request. We need the decorators because we need to find the request session actually. Oh, so we can use, okay, let's look at that. So this is weird. This is weird. Create param decorator. Let's quickly look at this if we can, it can solve our issues. Create param decorator. So the factory enhancers decorators, this is decorator. Create param decorator, factory data is any is this. Factory on enhancers. We have factory output. For the factory, we have enhancers. Enhancer is an array. Factory person parent factory. Whoa. Is execution context. Current user ID. should take a look at get profile as current user ID, which is returning the user ID from session. Use guard, session out guard. So this is simply saying user does not exist on type session and partial session data. So when we log in, we add the user to the session object. At session. Return user. Okay. Session auth guard. Context. We have the context request. Execution context, which returns to Boolean, can activate request to context. Let's even check packages. We have Express session installed. This error is weird. No, this does not even overlap. Yes. Again, this is not what request session. Okay. It's still weird. It's still weird. So let's see if Copilot can help with this, because a session object is not recognizing the user. So let's see how is this. Okay, declare module express session. Okay, fix this as well. It's not supposed to be an return statement there. Okay, so now cannot find module generated Prisma index.js. So now TypeScript is happy. because of the any user ID. So user ID is a string. It's either undefined or a string. And user is a user is it's a user from Prisma. What does the Prisma user has? Name, ID, email, created at, updated at. Yeah, so that is the user. So now TypeScript is happy. Great. So it actually escaped my mind. We need to declare express session module and then add this session data. Now it can be auto-completed. So if you come over and see this, we have the user and the user ID. Great. Okay, but now we're having an error. Cannot find module data like generated Prisma index.js. Okay, so come over here. Declare terminal and say npx Prisma generates. If I hit enter. Okay, so start by importing your Prisma client, generated Prisma CPU. So now we have it. Let's try to npm run start dev. Let's start our dev server again. Okay, Prisma. So let's take our Prisma file. Prisma, not this one, the one outside of the source folder, source directory. Prisma schema. So in the schema, we specify dash. Let's do this. And let's delete this. So npx Prisma generates. So we should have it generated inside of it should be somewhere. Okay, so wait. Oh, no, outside. We've gone outside of this directory. Then we want to go slash. So let's try it once more. Great. So what's the warning? The configuration property package using Prisma is deprecated and will be removed in Prisma version. Migrate Prisma to this migrate to a Prisma config file. Okay, that's just one. So now we have this generated in our source directory. So let's go to our Prisma service, Prisma module, Prisma service. Go to our Prisma service and we can just do this. Prisma clients is coming from outside of Prisma and inside of generated slash generated slash Prisma. So let's take a look at generated. Okay. Prisma and the index.js. Great. So I guess now it should work. Let's see. npm run start dev. So if it still doesn't work, import user settings. User settings. We have a Prisma settings from source Prisma settings. User generated. Okay, current user decorator. Good. Wow. So this should be generated Prisma. Okay. Generated Prisma. Auth service, and seed. So let's first of all take care of our seed. This one anointing with Nest.js. The path are inconsistent. Prisma seed. So again, outside slash generated Prisma. It's now happy. So we have auth service now to take care of. Auth service TS. This is from generated Prisma. Okay. Which error again? Cannot find module. Wow. So let's head over to Prisma Docs. Or first of all, let's copy this. So change this to use we change this to use ESM. So see, is it no? Let's first of all copy this error, bring it over here. Okay, so this error already exists in Nest.js Prisma or something. But let's see if we can find the solution here. Output. So we're no longer getting this in the node modules. Let's search Prisma. And ORM with stats. Prisma ESM support. Version 6. Okay. Module formats ESM Prisma client output source / Prisma. generated Prisma client. Okay. So change the provider to Prisma client, change the output to slash source generated Prisma, then module format ESN. We're using ESN now. Module format ESN, and this source generated Prisma. I think we already have that source generated Prisma. Generated Prisma clients and hit ignore. Let's just add this so that when pushing to GitHub will need to ignore. Do we have it? Okay, we have. Okay, it's already here. So let's go ahead and run npx Prisma generate once more. Generated Prisma client 6.1.4. But here we have version 6.6. Okay. So what we do is we say npm I at Prisma clients latest. So we install the latest version of Prisma. Try to do all of this again. Okay, so taking time. So these are some of the things we run into. Even those that are experienced, they will always run into some of these things. So when learning, we some people will prepare tutorials, go over everything, and they will run into some of these issues. They will fix them and come to teach you as if nothing like this will ever happen to you, but it will always happen. That's how it is. That is why the documentation is there. That is why every other thing is there. So when it happens, you check and get it resolved. So let's check packages. Prisma client 6.14.0. So we're trying to install the latest version of Prisma client. Okay, Prisma client 6.14. So what happened? We still have 6. Okay, Prisma client 6.14. Okay, so let's do this. And we have Prisma here. Let's run it. Okay, so what we do now is to delete node modules. Run npm add. So this will take time, but we hope it gets our issue resolved because the node modules were cached. So we have to do away with the node modules and then reinstall the dependencies. So it's taking time because it has to install everything we have. Okay, 32 vulnerabilities. So let's go ahead and nps Prisma generate. Let's see what we've got. Generate Prisma client 6.1.4. Okay, so at this point, let's do this once more, and this time around, including the package log JC. What do we have here? Prisma client 6.6. npm I. Wow. So let's check for Prisma latest version. Let's look at the change log. Oh, 6.14. Let us reduce, we improve the robust scale. Oh, okay. 6.13. Okay, it's actually 6. Oh. So I was thinking it's actually so they now have a Prisma config TS. It's in the early stage, but we're not going to be using that actually. What we'll do is there is Prisma 6.14, 6.14. So let it finish installing and see what we've got. Only just stop it and run it. So make sure we're installing the correct thing. taking time. But we just need to get the issue resolved so we can. Yes, we have this. Yeah, so the generated Prisma client is in TypeScript and no longer in JavaScript. Okay, so what we needed to do was to say slash client. Oh, because we have this now. Everything, the enums, class, Prisma, everything is here. So they are exported. Password, we have our password type, we have our notes, we have our user here. We have the Prisma clients, export comes Prisma clients. So we can, oh, well, let it finish installing so we can check that out. Prisma clients, where else do we need this? Prisma clients. The user's service, do we need Prisma client? No, we don't. We need it in the seed. Seed TS client. Great. So these are the places we need a Prisma. And we need it in the Prisma service. So it's saying type save database client for TypeScript. Node-based constructor has a specified number of type arguments. Okay, so let this finish installing first so we can see what it does. So it's taking more time and more time. Wow. So I never knew we had a lot of these a lot of dependencies to install. Wow, wow, wow. We just have to resolve this so we can be able to test authentication. But I really don't know why it's taking this much time. Oh, so I guess you should also stop it and rerun it. So for about 7 minutes, that's too long. Please. Wow, wow, wow. Next.js and dependencies. And my network is not that slow. So what may be the actual problem? This is somewhat annoying. This is annoying actually. Okay, so finally we have our node modules and we soon have our package log JSON. So, so still installing. Okay, so now we have our package log JSON. We have everything. Okay, so we see npx is not generates. And now we have a problem, injectable. Beginning of type of framework service not assigned parameter of type function. Oops. Okay. Prisma client. Okay, so we've encountered another problem. So what's this one saying? On save return of value type error, return session user. Okay. User Prisma clients. Oops. Oh wow. Well, let's first of all look into this. But let's see if copilots can be of help. Because I've actually not used the latest version of Prisma with Nest.js. Okay, it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, we have to check it out manually and see. Okay, so um first of all, let's see if this other developers have been having similar issues. Oh, so we have Prisma Nest.js. So let's see what they've got. If you use this. So at Prisma/clients. This documentation is still old. Prisma client, Prisma service. Wow. So this is connect doesn't exist on Prisma service. We have generated clients. Okay. Wow. So what we do is let's do something. So the next JS documentation is still referencing define config schema path. Yes. As for next JS. Next JS. So let's see if they have something meaningful. 2 weeks, 8 months. Prisma, Prisma streaming. Oh, okay. So I guess I have to make some tweaks. Come over to our schema, remove the outputs, JS, remove this. npx Prisma generates. Okay, so now we can go ahead and instead of doing this, we say at Prisma client. Prisma is happy here. So it's good to look at the dots sometimes. At Prisma client. So this one is coming from the node modules. So in early versions of Prisma, I mean, latest versions of Prisma, we don't have to do this, but it seems Next.js have not supported that. So we have the user service. Okay. We have the Prisma service. And then we say at Prisma clients. It's happy there. Where else do we need this? Corrected it here. Okay. PS Prisma DB push. So let's do this once more. It's already in sync. npm run start dev. Wow. This generated Prisma clients, epic note list source. Okay, so we have to delete this. Export is not defined. 5 years will do this. Wow. So this class is interesting. Just debugging and debugging. Okay. So we have an error here. This should be hot service TS generated. So it's coming from the node modules. Another error. Okay. It's part of the current user module. Config service is a provider. Is it part of the current user module? So definitely separate modules. That modules included. Okay. Okay. Config service. Think we need to so Okay, I think we no longer have errors, I guess. Wow. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So what do we do now? Okay, let's try to create a user. So in order to create a user, we have to do that auth controllers, go to /auth/register, and then we provide the credentials. So what are the credentials for registering a user? Let's quickly look at our schema. We have the email, the name, and password. So let's open up Postman. Let's quickly open up Postman. So it's still loading. Add a request. And this should be HTTP localhost 3000 /auth/register. Now, if you try to send this request now, let's see what's okay. Let's view in console what you get. Refuse to connect because this is a post request, post send. Okay, so what's happening? The auth controller. Okay, so let's do localhost 3000 auth register. So let's do a get request for this. So in the browser, let's do localhost 3000. Okay. So what's even our port? Is it port 3000? Okay, let's look at our config. 3000. So let's stop. And we'll start there. Auth register is a post route, auth login post, auth main gets, auth. Okay. So what's happening? No, tell me what's. Oh wow. Another phase of debugging. What's happening here? Fault is undefined. Okay. Okay, so I guess we should now be able to access this. Great. So if we do this now, we will see this. Okay, now we should go to auth/register, post request, body, raw, JC. So name, Tony Max, email, tony@max.com, password, 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 no password. So I think that's all we need. So let's send this. An error occurred with send the user internal server error. Okay, let's check this out. Auth service. Let's log the error to the console. Try this once more. User with it. Oh, wow. max@tony.com. So what we do is do away with this. And now move this. Oops. Just throw error. Throw error. Okay, it's outside. Just throw the error. The drama is too much now. Let's come back here and say Tony@max. We need a meaningful error message. So let's do this once more. User with this. Okay, user with email Tony@max.com already exists. Good. So now we get the correct error message. So we say max@tony.com. Now we send this. User with this. So guess Max Anthony at max.com. Send. Oh wow. User with this already exists. So what's happening? User service, create user. Existing user, users find unique. This is once more. Internal server error now. Can also properties on undefined user ID, auth controller register, 50, auth controller 5019. Okay. Log user. So we're out of time already. Let me send it once more. So Tony 20 at max. 20 pound at max. Okay. We have our ID, what the name, the email. And you set packages on the phone. Setting user ID. Wow. So it's been a lot of debugging. I guess okay. The existing this service. Okay, so our user is being created in the database, but we cannot set it to the session objects. So I guess we'll continue this debugging in our next class. We should be able to properly fix this and then move over to creating notes for users, for only authenticated users. But for today, we're out of time. And it's been fun, actually. So we've been able to create our auth controller, our auth module. And we'll call it a day for today. We'll resolve the error next in our next class and then move over to the next thing. So we resolve the error, refactor our code, and then move over to the next thing. Yeah, so I'll push the code. So please the person who was assigned the role and the admin role why I was kicked out should stop the recording, please.